Hello and namaste. Do you face this problem of being in practicing mindfulness in your daily life, but you are with a person who is not very interested in mindfulness, or who is not practicing, who is not awake, who is unconscious, right? So, in that case, what should you do? Hi, I'm Abhinav Gulecha. I'm a mindfulness coach, and in this video I'll be actually sharing some tips on how you can deal with this problem. Before moving forward, I have a mindfulness masterclass, a 1 hour mindfulness masterclass. If you're interested, you can check the link in the description and register for it. If you want to learn mindfulness in a deeper way, I have a mindfulness course. The link for it is also given below, so you can buy it, right? Okay, so now we start. I have just made certain points from my limited knowledge, and I'll be just taking up the points. Just see what points uh, resonate with you, uh, and accordingly you can take your decision, right? I've just made a note of some points. The first point that I will say is that our relationships, they have a deeper purpose, right? They are here to test our presence, test our they are the biggest opportunity that we have for our spiritual growth. So when you are faced with this kind of an environment where you are conscious, you are mindful, you practice mindfulness, and your husband or your wife is not mindful, then what I will say is that welcome such interactions, right? Welcome this opportunity, because this opportunity is meant to force you to be more present, right? It is going to help you. It is helping you in your mindfulness practice. Take it as a test of your practice. For example, take it as an analogy of lifting weights. When you go to a gym, you lift weights, right? And you are actually giving pain to your body, right? Why do you give pain to the body? Because you want the body to be strong. So if you want to be strong in your mindfulness practice, maybe this is one of the ways in which the universe has conspired to help you be mindful. So recognize this, change your perspective uh, uh, in this relationship, right? Now, what basically you need to do is that you need to strengthen your foundation. So if you are perturbed by whatever happens, like these things that happen in the relationship, and some things that bother you, the other person's unconsciousness that bothers you, what you can do is that you can focus on deepening your own practice, rather than looking outside and focusing on the flaws that the other person has. See, every person has flaws, right? Even you have flaws, I have flaws, right? The more we look into the flaws of that person, the more, you know, my internal thing gets contaminated. So instead of looking out at and pointing the flaws of that other person, look within and deepen your practice. How you can deepen your practice? You can devote more time to your meditation. You can be more mindful, right? You can put that effort to be more and more mindful, live more and more intensely in the present moment, right? So then I will I one point I have is that, please see if you are trying to impose your practice on the other person, not consciously, but maybe unconsciously or subconsciously, right? So see if any of your behaviors are like where the other person feels threatened, right? That you are kind of imposing your own views or beliefs in your conversations with your husband or wife, right? Where you are kind of imposing your views on that other person. So just be mindful. It can trigger that kind of a response in that person, right? So you can do your practice very well. You don't need to kind of impose it on that other person. The other person is free to choose to join you in your practice or do something else, right? But you should not impose your views in whichever way, right? So that is one thing you can think. Then my request will be, please see if that you are spending dedicated time with your family members. Sometimes the other person may also be unconscious or may also resent your practice, is because you are like too much into your spiritual practice, right? So there has to be a balance. We are there in the world. We are not monks and we are not nuns, right? So we have to make a balance between our own mindfulness practice and our duties towards our family and society, right? So there can be a clear demarcation. You can have that these are my times for my meditation, and these are times for my my social interactions. So your meditation should not come in between your social interactions. You should not isolate yourself. Try not to isolate yourself. Okay, if in your mindfulness journey, if you reach a point where you want to isolate yourself for your growth, then it's a different thing. But try to maintain a balance, right? Because your family also needs you. So you can have dedicated family. Like in my coaching, I always tell my my students that have dedicated family time every day, like 1 or 2 hours dedicated family time, right? So that kind of a balance is needed. So see, if you are having that balance, then what you can do, you can shift your practice times, right? So if you are like doing your practice in a time when the other people need your kind of support, right? So you can like shift your practice time to early morning. If you are like having a dedicated meditation practice, you can shift to early morning when other people are not disturbed. And mindfulness, the biggest thing about mindfulness is that there are no rituals. You can practice mindfulness at any time. So you can still be with your family, enjoying with your family, watching TV, and still pay attention to your breathing, right? So this is the so mindfulness is meditation each moment, right? So you don't need to kind of take out time, but even if you're taking out time for your meditation, sitting meditation practice, you can like shift your time so that it is convenient for everyone. See, the whole idea is whatever I can do to help ease out this situation, that I can do to that extent. I cannot go beyond. I have to just keep focus on what I can do. So there is this concept of circle of influence and circle of control, right? Circle of concern, sorry, circle of influence and circle of concern. So I'll only focus on my circle of influence, what I can do to influence this situation and make this better. Then what you can do is that you can join a sangha, right? Or you can join a support group. Like there are many mindfulness support groups. You can join one of them, and you can or if you have a mindfulness teacher, you can discuss your problems in with your teacher or with your support group, right? And gain their support, gain their insight on how they handle the situation, right? Next, what I will, or you or any good friend whom with you can discuss. The more you discuss the things, the more you can get a better perspective. Sometimes by discussing, we get an insight that I should need to change this, right? Okay. One another insight is that the please understand that when your partner is unconscious, do not give up on that person, because that person, if she's unconscious, that internally he's like he or she is saying that he or she needs more compassion, right? Now how you can bring out more, so just see opportunities where you can bring more compassion. Now even if you cannot look like go and express your compassion, try to do that. Be more compassionate with that person. But what you can do is that you can also mentally send the thoughts of love rather than sending thoughts of hatred to that person. Send thoughts of love, send thoughts of loving kindness to that person. This can be part of your practice. Right? Loving kindness is an essential part of mindfulness practice. So send loving kindness every day on a daily basis through your thoughts to that other person. That you can do, right? Okay. Now, uh, now, if you cannot, you are if through yourself you are not able to generate that compassion or understanding, if your practice is not very deep enough, you can take help of a therapist, right? Consult a therapist or a counselor who specialize, like a marriage counselor, or people who specialize in these kind of counseling activities. You can take help of them, and take help from them so that the situation can improve, right? So don't hesitate there. Now, what Eckhart says is that, when the other person's unconsciousness comes up, what your responsibility should be to stay in alert presence, right? Even if you are like not very conscious, just when that other person's unconsciousness is coming up, your responsibility is to just become more alert, more present, so that when you are more alert and more present, the you basically don't get drawn into that other person's unconsciousness. So this is what generally happens, that the other person becomes unconscious. If you are also unconscious at that time, then you react and there are fights and everything. So now your practice should be recognize when the other person's unconsciousness is coming up, and at that time just be more and more alert. And after that, when the other person is cooled down, and it may also happen that if you are very alert, then the other person can also be more kind of aggressive, right? Because he's seeing that, he or she is seeing that you are not giving in to his this thing, unconsciousness, right? So when the person is cooled down, then what you can do is that you can see, communicate, discuss what happened, what came up on him, right? Make him understand that something came up. If he's in a good mood or she's in a good mood, then you can discuss with him, and also you can communicate that these things are causing issues in our relationship, and how mindfulness practice is important to you, right? So first of all, you need to be very clear what mindfulness practice means to you. If your practice, you are not clear about your practice, then unconsciously you will not be able to convey or even if you say it in words, that words will not have power, right? So first decide what mindfulness practice means to you, and then be clear on your why you want to practice mindfulness. And once you will be able to communicate in a much better way that his or her kind of behavior is coming in the way of your practice, and what can you both do together to come out of this situation, right? Now, Eckhart says that there are two ways, how it happens in kind of relationships. One thing is that the other person may, if you are very mindful, very present, and the other person is unconscious, either he can follow you in presence, right? Over like some years, he can come into your presence through your light. He can also become present. Or other thing is, if he's unconscious, if he is very heavy, he is having a very heavy pin body, then you both can separate also, right? So now our what we have to do is that we don't have to think too much what will happen and all those things. We have to just focus on this moment and shine our light, be present, and let the awareness take whatever the course of action that happens, right? In this moment, whatever I can do, I can adjust myself. I can have focus on my circle of influence, stay alert, stay present. I will only focus on that. Then let the universe decide what happens next, right? Now, one more thing I will say is that, see, in every relationship, some of the issues will be there, right? Like, fortunately, touchwood, I in my relationship, I don't face this issue. My wife is very supportive of my mindfulness practice, and she is conscious herself. But then, even in our relationship, there are issues, right? Some of the other small issues keep happening. So that you have to be prepared, and over time lot of issues get sorted out themselves, right? So don't kind of get bothered too much by the smaller issues. So, like what Eckhart says, there are two, how what action need to take, it depends on two issues. Is that, number one, what is the degree of the unconsciousness in the other person, and how it manifests. So if it's a low degree kind of thing, whereby you are doing your mindfulness or meditation practice, or going to a retreat, or reading a spiritual book, or maybe sharing a spiritual thing, and your husband or wife, your partner, says, what rubbish, why do you go into this retreats, why do you do these meditations, why do you have this sangha and this community that you've joined, why do you practice all these things, right? This is like a low degree kind of thing which can be managed, right? You don't need anyone's approval to practice mindfulness. But the high degree one is where you will need to take a decision, where the person starts actively stopping you, like I have in my course. So I coach mindfulness, and in my coaching, I have my students who's, some of my students whose, like, husbands stopped them from practicing mindfulness, right? And then that is where there's a difficult situation, right? That because of their whatever views about, you're not practicing, they don't want to practice mindfulness and everything. So if that be the situation, or if there is a situation of like uh, verbal abuse, the person starts abusing you, or if there is a physical abuse angle, that is there, domestic violence, then you need to take a call. Then you need to take a decision what you need to do. And then you need to decide what is important for you. Your own peace is important, or staying in that relationship is important. And it is here that you need to also look into your own patterns of, you know your own maybe childhood issues or childhood conditioning, with respect to conflicts, with respect to being, insecurities, right? The fear of being alone, right? The fear of unknown, fear of being alone, insecurities, and that instinct of that, trying to be secure in a relationship, which is not letting you come out of that relationship. So that, again, these patterns you can kind of find out in yourself. And one very good way of doing it is start journaling whatever is coming in your mind, all this regarding all these problems in your relationship. Start journaling, and you will get much more clarity, rather than keeping all the thoughts in your head, right? And one final thing that I will just say is that Eckhart says there are three ways to deal with any problem. One is remove yourself from the situation, maybe, like, for example, take yourself out of that relationship. Second is change the situation for the better. Now, all the steps that I said. discuss with him, change your times, practice times, all those things. See whatever you can do to improve the situation. And the third is, if both those things are not possible and are not relevant and not right, and you want to be in this relationship, then accept everything that is there right now in your relationship. If you resist whatever is in the now, then you create further pain for yourself, right? So please do reflect on these all points. I hope some of the points made some sense. Do share your thoughts and questions. If you have not registered for my 1 hour masterclass, do register. The link is there in the description. And if you want to learn mindfulness in a deeper way through me, I have a course as well as a one-to-one coaching. Do You can check out the link below and register for that, right? So thank you so much for watching this video. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you so much.